Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm T.
And I'm Nessa.
And together we are the Casual Fangirls. We are coming to you again with our continued coverage of HBO's House of the Dragon. There are only 2 episodes left, and the stakes just keep getting higher and higher. We have a lot of family drama to talk about, which reminds me, Nessa, if a family member cut your eye out, do you think you could ever forgive them?
No, it's on site. All day, every day. On site. At the family reunion, at weddings, at a funeral, it's on site. Every time we get together, I'm coming for your eye too.
Every single time.
Every single time. What about you?
If a family member cut my eye out, I'm taking something.
I'm leaving here with something.
I'm sending a bully to their kid's school. You are not about to just get away with taking one of my eyes. It's not happening. I'm not going to kill you. I'm not a kinslayer, but I'm gonna terrorize you for a little bit.
Oh yeah. For a little bit, for the rest of your life, probably.
At least for a little bit. Before we dive into this week's episode, because we see in the episode that there are plenty of people who will never forgive and never forget. This episode entitled "The Lord of the Tides." Nessa, what did you think of this episode?
Give Paddy Considine his Emmy, boy. Paddy plays King Viserys, and this man was acting throughout the entire episode. Like, his performance was amazing. I thought it was great. The episode was full of a lot of tension. As you said before, drama. And I was here for every single moment of it. They were just, and guys, just so y'all know, like, we watched it together at T's house. And like, there were so many moments that we were looking at each other like, oh my God. It was a great episode, honestly. Overall, it was a great episode. What did you feel about it?
I think the first thing I think of when I think of this episode is the very ending, the last shot, and me saying, finally.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get into it.
But yes.
There's so much relief at the end of this episode after building up to something for the past, at least, this is episode 8, at least 7 episodes we've been building towards this, I feel like. So feeling some relief. That relief is quickly followed by some anxiety because you know it's about to go down. You know it's about to get, honestly, every single one of these episodes so far has given me something super crazy. Like, I can't believe they did that, or I can't believe that happened. And I just know that the next episode is about to top everything that we've already seen.
Yes.
So my nerves are kind of like on edge. I'm anxious about what's going to happen, but also really excited to see what's going to happen, because if we know anything about Game of Thrones and the way that these shows have been written in the past, is that the penultimate episode, things go down. So penultimate episodes, Baylor, when spoiler, spoiler, Ned gets his head cut off. What was it in season 2? Was it like the Blackwater was season 2? Season 3 might have been something that I'm forgetting. Season 4 was the battle at Castle Black. Season 5 was season 3 was Red Wedding. How did I forget that? Season 4 was Battle at Castle Black. Season 5 was something. Season 6 was Battle of the Bastards. It's just like it's about to go down. It's
gonna be big.
I'm super excited for it.
Yeah.
So before we dive into all of the nitty gritty of the episode, Nessa, why don't you give everyone a spoiler warning?
All right, guys. So y'all know what time it is. This is our spoiler warning. Game of Thrones on the table. All the episodes of House of Dragon, including episode 8, on the table. We might even reference the books, even though we didn't read Fire and Blood. That don't mean we don't know stuff. Okay? We might reference that. And also the original Song of Ice and Fire series books. We might also reference that as well. So, if you guys have not watched this episode, you may want to go back and watch it and then come and join us. Or you can hang around, listen to us banter about all the good stuff, and then maybe go check it out. But we're about to get into the nitty gritty, all the details of everything. So if you don't want to be spoiled, this is your time. But for everyone else, let's move forward. T, kick us off with the episode, please.
Thanks for the spoiler warning. You have been warned. So this show opens on Driftmark once again, but we are now 6 years later, another time jump. What is this, the third time jump?
Something like that. Yeah.
Fourth, maybe even fourth at this point. Anyways, so 6 years later, we're on Driftmark, and we are with Rhaenys as she learns that her husband, Corlys, has been seriously injured in the Stepstones, and it's unclear whether he'll survive his wounds. His brother, Vaemon, Lord Vaemon, his younger brother, immediately brings up the conversation of succession, reminding Rhaenys that regardless of what Corlys wants by right and by law, since he is the next male kin with the Valyrian blood, the seat should pass to him. Rhaenys plays the good wife and good cousin and insists that this is treason. So let's pause here. First of all, another time jump, which is fine. I think at this point we're pretty much used to it, right? Like, well, I am kind of used to it, and they're being like, it's been 6 years, but I know you have thoughts about this.
It has its plus and its minuses, you know. But I think I'll say this, all in all, I think they're handling it as well as one possibly could, but it still leaves me like with this empty hole of like, but what happened during this time? But continue on.
Yeah. And then, we're still on Driftmark, which I think is nice that we kind of spent most of our time last episode on Driftmark and we open here. But as we see, as soon as, the thought of Corlys not surviving comes up, Vaemon is ready to go. And he is serious. He's just like, look, we all know I am the person that actually has blood. Let's call a spade a spade. This seat should be mine by right. And the thing that he called out that I thought was really interesting was he was like, we know that Corlys just cares about the history books. This is about blood.
Yeah. Yep. And I mean, we've said this multiple times, right? Or we've seen this at least multiple times in these series, this whole idea of second sons. And right now, Vaemon is like, second sons got to do it for themselves. So this is my opportunity. Right? And then it definitely does not help that clearly these kids, the strong boys, do not belong to Laenor. And it's like, he's the one who's sitting here like, you see me? I see you. We see this. What is going on here? Like, why are we all pretending? And so I think he's seeing this as his opportunity to climb up in the ranks. You know what? I'm the one that's got the Valyrian blood, who I should be next. And that should be that. And it should be a settled situation. And Rhaenys is like, it's not as settled as you think.
No, because my husband wanted it this way, and that's what it is. And to that point, they also go out of their way to say that Corlys is 3 days away from being home.
Yeah.
What is stopping them from just waiting the 3-4 days until he gets home? Like,
Vaemon's ambition. He's like, forget, because remember he says, I don't need your permission, right? So he's going to go to King's Landing regardless. So Rhaenys is like, damn, you going? I gotta go too. You know? So I think that's what it is. And the crazy thing is, y'all, Corlys is not dead. He's not dead at all. He may be knocking on death's door. We don't know, but he's not dead. So them jumping the gun is just showing how much Vaemon is trying to take advantage of this moment right now.
I totally agree. The other thing we wanted to call out too was what?
Is that Baela is standing next to Rhaenys. When we get these opening scenes, my girl, first of all, I had to do a double take for a second because I thought it was Laena, and I was like, no, she died. And I was like, oh, Baela. First of all, Baela does not have her dreads. She has her mom's signature locks. When I say locks, I mean her curls. And so, but she's standing firm and strong next to Rhaenys. Even when Vaemon comes up, she's like, doesn't my grandmother look comfortable on the throne? Like, what's your problem? And you can see that there is clearly, some sort of love and alliance there with her grandmother.
Loyalty. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely some loyalty.
Yeah, we'll talk more about Bela, Reina, Rhaenys a little bit later, but definitely notice that Bela was just like, "This is my grandmother. Get out of her face.
Mm-hmm.
Don't even start." But I do want to talk about like the idea of Viserys, of Daemon and Rhaenyra sending Bela over to Rhaenys, right?
Oh, yes, we're going to get to that.
So, anyways, meanwhile on Dragonstone, Rhaenyra learns Vaemon plans to petition Luke's claim to Driftmark. Her and Daemon decide to go to King's Landing to ensure the succession goes as planned. When they get there, they notice a lot has changed. A lot of the Targaryen decoration has been removed. Otto and Alicent are ruling in Viserys' name, and Viserys is looking rough.
Tough look.
Rhaenyra and Daemon bring their youngest children, Aegon and Viserys, which is cute. That was so cute, to meet Viserys and ask him to stand up for her and Luke's claim at the hearing the next day. So let's pause. They show up. They show up in King's Landing, and the season has been prepping us thus far, and everything we've seen in Game of Thrones, that the way you welcome someone into your home is an utmost sign of respect and or disrespect if you don't do it right. We already saw in this series when Viserys and Rhaenyra showed up at Driftmark to propose marriage between Rhaenyra and Laenor, how Driftmark greeted them, and they caught the hint, right?
Yeah.
So this time they had no one, not even like the prince or anyone, to be there for Rhaenyra and Daemon to welcome them. The disrespect. Here's my question for you.
Yes.
Do you think Alicent knew that Otto set that up?
I don't think so, because when they come into the small council and they're like, "Oh, Rhaenyra's here," she looks surprised. Like it seemed like she didn't really know. And Otto's there and like, did she get the welcoming befitting of her station? And like, Alicent's like, "What you talking about?" So I don't think she planned for it to go that way. I don't think she knew that Otto set it up. But here go Otto trying to flex, whatever power that he's acquired, in these last 6 years that Viserys has been on the decline.
Yep.
So she innocent. She innocent in this case.
In that sense. Speaking of Viserys being on the decline, how is he still alive?
Girl, well, I've been waiting for his death since what's her name, Rhaenyra got married to Laenor. So I've been waiting for his death since then.
But that was 16 years ago.
Yeah, and this man has been hanging on. When we say by a thread, I'm talking about the tiniest, thinnest thread you could think of.
But like thread of skin.
Somehow this man is making it. He's making it.
I don't know what those maesters are doing. Like they got the sauce. They got something like that herbal medicinal type healing must really freaking work because they don't have no new age chemicals to keep that man alive. He is still alive. He on that elderberry. He on that sea moss. He's on
everything. I also want to quickly mention that the reason that what's their name, Rhaenyra and Daemon even know that all of this is going down in King's Landing is because Bela sends a letter. And I think that's important to note because we don't see what happens we don't see the events that lead up to Bela being Rhaenys's ward, but at least we know through this, like, okay, there's no real bad blood because otherwise why would she warn her daddy, So I think that's important to note that they're still clearly on good terms or good enough terms that she could be like, "Hey, Uncle Veve is coming through. He trying to stir the pot." So I just wanted to throw that in real quick.
No, that's a good point, and I think I missed that. Not missed, but just didn't remember it. And it's important again to set up the fact that Alicent probably wasn't expecting Rhaenyra because they didn't invite her to like state her claim to fight this petition. Right?
Yes, good point. They definitely wouldn't announce like, "Hey, we're coming."
Yeah, like they were like, "Hey, Daemon is challenging your claim. Do you want to come fight for it?" They didn't do that. Like Rhaenyra showed up, right? Speaking of Rhaenyra and Daemon, talking about like their reunion with Viserys, like Daemon's reaction to his brother, he looked so sad to me.
He did. He looked sad. He looked embarrassed. He looked like he was pitying his brother. I think is what it was. Cause it can't be easy to see your family member, no matter who they are, like just on the decline in that kind of way, to be literally wasting away in bed. That is a tough thing to see, especially when all Daemon ever wanted to do was be by Viserys' side. Mm-hmm. And it led me to this question. I don't know if you had this question, but I was like, so in the 6 years that has passed, have you guys never gone to King's Landing? Have you guys never checked in on Viserys, knowing how sick he is?
So that's the other thing too. Is like Dragonstone is like a dragon ride away. Like it is like an hour. It's not far at all. It's like Brooklyn to the Bronx. Like it's not that far. Mm-hmm. And to that point, they were introducing their two youngest kids to Viserys as well. Like, and introducing, you know, their names, Aegon and Viserys. And it's like, did no one send a raven and tell Viserys that he has a grandchild named after him? Like even something as simple as that. Like he looked so shocked that child was named after him. It was super cute. It was like, oh, name meant for a king. It was a super cute reunion, but yeah, exactly. Like how come they're not? Why? That just makes no sense to me. You know the Greens are there digging their claws in. Why would you not be checking in on a regular basis? Like Rhaenyra, at the minimum, should have been showing up once a month on Dragonback.
Yeah, she definitely should have been coming through. I mean, they could have been sending ravens, but, you know, he may not have remembered. So I'll give him that. But
they might not have been reading it to him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that too. But for them not showing up, I feel like that's inexcusable. I think it's weird. And this is where I'm like, dang, I need more from that 6-year time jump. Because, like, why wouldn't they go back and forth? Why wouldn't they show up? I understand why they're not going to Driftmark. Like, that's clear. But, like, why not go to... And then we also don't get to see, like, any of his reaction to Daemon and Rhaenyra first getting married. We don't get to see any of that. So I feel like there's a lot to be missed there. I got to ask you, did you have any reaction to hearing the name Aegon?
Yeah, I was like, that's my level of petty. I know that's right. Like
I know that's right.
Do it.
I was like, Allison's gonna be pissed.
So in the books, she actually is pissed. I heard.
Yeah, I hear that.
And we might get that in the next episode. We didn't see that Alicent was made aware of their children's names in this episode. I actually think it's coming based on the trailer that we saw. So we'll see. But yeah, I am here for that kind of petty. Oh,
yeah. And I think it's going to be super important either way. Cause like, we'll get there when we get to the end of the episode, but what she hears in the end of the episode, now the fact that there are two Aegons who are princes, that could cause a lot of confusion and commotion going forward. So
I mean, except that he said it to her and not Rhaenyra, right?
Yes, but one could still throw it in there like, what makes you think that it was that Aegon? So, I mean, I think there's still room to wiggle in there for sure.
Oh, I totally agree.
I mean, this whole episode is about everyone trying to wiggle their way in somewhere. So, I mean, it's possible.
Definitely possible. But I did think it was super cute that they named their child after Viserys. I think naming him Aegon was a political move, like was strategic. Oh, yeah. And then the Viserys was like just out of pure love, I do think. Yeah. So that was kind of.
And they got 2.5 kids in 6 years, bro. They was not playing games. So
busy.
We know that Daemon is not like physically impotent. It had to have been just a mental block with everything else that was going on and whatever. So
it's probably like he's probably like a sapiosexual where he actually has to like have feelings for the person in order to like do it.
Maybe he's softer than what we think. I like that.
We know Daemon's about that life, and we gonna get there.
Yes, let's go.
So we learned that Alicent's Aegon, now we got to distinguish between the two. Alicent's Aegon has raped a servant girl. Alicent kind of apologizes on behalf of her son, gives her a bag of gold, and forces her to drink moon tea, aka abortion tea. She immediately confronts Aegon, who dismisses her anger and his behavior. Rhaenyra and Daemon then confront Alicent on keeping Viserys drugged up as she and her father rule. In the yard, Jace and Luke watch Aemon spar with Kristen Cole, and he is good. Just as Aemon is about to goad them into sparring, Vaemon enters with his guards and shortly after reminds Otto and Alicent that the future Lord of the Tides would be deeply in their debt and will be necessary to face any future threats to the realm. Because, you know, the Stepstones and the Triarchy are like the big bad villain that no one will see. If we go I think we're going to go the entire season without seeing them.
I'm so annoyed by the Stepstones at this point. It's like either do it or don't. Do it or don't. Because I'm tired. But yes, continue.
I mean, that's it. So with Alicent and Aegon specifically, I think that this was a good way to set up who Aegon is.
Yeah.
Right. Like he's a piece of work. He's a piece of crap. He even says straight out he doesn't want the throne, but he's like trying and he can't live up to his mother's expectations. But the other thing that stood out to me too was that this reminded me of like Cersei and Joffrey's relationship from Game of Thrones, and how Joffrey was also not a nice person, but Cersei to me seemed to not really care for the victims that Joffrey had. What were your thoughts on this? Did you get that vibe, or like did that dynamic remind you of Cersei and Joffrey at all?
It does. I think so, again, because we have this 6-year time jump and we have new actors, right, playing these folks. It's important to establish who these characters are. So I think this was a great way of establishing that we're not supposed to be rooting for Aegon, right? Even though they try to make it seem like he's more complicated, where it's like, yes, he's doing these terrible things, but also his parents have put him in this certain position. You know, I'm pretty sure his dad was like not that present in his life anyways. But not only that, we see that Alicent has a new devotion to the faith of the Seven, right? And she walks around with the star on her chest and everything. And so what it made me think of more was Rhaenyra's decision to lie to Alicent when she asked her, like, hey, did this happen with you and Daemon? Like, what's going on? Whatever, right? She's like, ooh, I don't know if I could trust Alicent with all this information. I'm going to lie. And then watching how Alicent handles her son being a rapist, right? Where it's like, she's supposed to be this righteous, holy woman. Your son is out here raping people. Yes, you question him about it, but at the end of the day, does he get punished? No. Is there any consequence? No. You pay off the girl, you give her moon tea, and you keep it pushing. So to me, it's just like, you know, it's just showing that hypocrisy within her while also establishing this is who Aegon is. And then Helena walks in and like has no clue what's going on. And she's like, where's Diana? She's supposed to change the kids. And it's just like, poor girl. She just has no clue. And then Alicent runs over and just hugs her. And it's just like, I put you in this situation. So now again, here's another example of like Alicent upholding the patriarchy, right? By marrying her daughter to this terrible person who happens to be her son. You know, it's a lot of incest going on, guys.
It's a lot of Alicent being the indirect cause of a lot of people's bad experiences, right? Like she 100% is culpable in Aegon being the person he is today.
Yeah.
She is absolutely responsible for marrying Aegon to Helena, knowing that her son was a piece of crap. Like she knew that beforehand. And like now she has to deal with it. I mean, to your point about the hypocrisy, I think we see that a couple of times.
Yeah.
But I do want to give a little bit of grace here in that, you know, when you grow up in a certain society or in a certain religion or in a certain way, you just take everything at face value. You shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, yada, 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 yada. And if people who do it, they are bad. Rhaenyra putting herself in a position to have sex before marriage, that makes her a bad person. She is now my enemy because she lied to me, yada, yada. until you are actually, as an individual, placed in the same exact situation, you don't know what you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that, yes, there's some hypocrisy here, but there's also like, I'm hoping you would hope some sort of revelation Alicent would have, like, oh, now that I'm in a similar situation or tangential to a similar situation or a situation where virtue and righteousness is at play, I'm realizing that maybe what they did wasn't so bad after all. I don't know. Like, I don't think that's actually what's happening, but I would hope that's what Alicent would do. Be like, oh, snap. You're right. And that's happened to me before too, like with friends, like, can't believe you did that. And then like 10 years later, it's like, I know why you did that. And I was like, yeah, because you weren't in that situation. So
yeah.
like, you know,
I would like to think that those are her thoughts, but I don't think she's there. I think it's like because again, even the Faith of the Seven, right? Technically, you're not supposed to marry, your siblings, but we know that the Targaryens have special rules. But even when Daemon wanted to be with Rhaenyra or whatever, or when that whole situation happened, she was just like, I know y'all got queer Targaryen traditions, but then here you are marrying your son to your daughter. So
that's how much she dislikes Rhaenyra because she didn't want Helena marrying Jace.
Which would have been a better fit. Helena would have been happy. And
Helena would have been happy. It would not have been away incest, right?
Right.
It would have been a little less.
Been more distance.
Yeah.
No, we lie. Because they're half. No, yeah, that's her aunt. That's his aunt. Okay.
I mean, Jason, Helena would have been Jon and Dany.
Yeah. Because Rhaenyra and
Dany
Helena are half sisters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I told you guys, there's a lot of incest, there's a lot of mixing the mix. It's not going
on. The Greens, Aemond. Getting busy.
Aemond Targaryen, boy. He didn't let that one eye stop him, not one little bit.
No, because you know what he could do? He could fight Kristen and beat him and Pete that his nephews are watching at the same time because he didn't even turn his head not once to look at them. And he knew they were there. That's a bad mamma jamma. Okay.
And let's not forget, Kristen beat Daemon in the tourney. So now if Aemond can beat Kristen, let's do the math. If you carry the two, if Aemond can beat Kristen, plus can he beat Daemon?
I mean, that was 20 years ago.
Right. So in all,
they're older, right? Daemon's older now. And, so
do you think they purposely cast someone who looks like Matt Smith?
Who looks like, say that again?
Do you think they purposely casted someone who looks like Matt Smith? I feel like Aemond looks so much like Matt Smith, like Daemon.
You think so?
Yes. When you look at them, like, especially like their like facial structure, like that oval face. Yeah. And then just like, you can see like Aemond has that second son, Daemon type attitude, like ready for action all the time.
There's the dragon in him.
There's the dragon in him. Like, no, okay, maybe.
No. I'm not saying
I feel like they look similar.
They definitely give off similar vibes and the same energy. Like, I think they would be formidable foes. Like, we see later on that they almost square up for a hot second. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they physically look like each other. I'm trying hard to not say like all bleach blonde people look alike. So, which is why I'm not commenting because I don't know that like their faces actually look the same. But I get, but they purposely, I think, are trying to draw parallels between the two. I think you're right in that sense. Yeah. I'm scared of Aemond. I'm scared and a little like interested in Aemond as well. Like not in that way, but just like he's gonna do some stuff, and like I can't wait to see it.
I think by next episode you're gonna be interested in him in that way. Just like how Daemon got you, I think Aemond's gonna get you.
How old is Aemond in this now? What is he? Pushing 20, 21? I think he's at 21, right?
20-ish, I think. But also, I think they're fudging with the ages here. Something about the ages don't seem to all the way add up for me. But I would have to go back and really retrace what's happening here, because at the end of the show they say that all of the kids across the board fall into the age range of 17 to 21. And
Right.
that doesn't feel all the way right to me.
The 17 doesn't feel right.
Yeah, I feel like if anything, Luke should be younger than that.
I mean, Joffrey definitely is.
Oh, well, yeah, I don't think they were including Joffrey in that, but
Okay.
I don't think they were including Joffrey in that one. But I think Luke should be younger than 17.
Well, yeah. I mean, if Aegon is 21, then Aemon is probably 19, 20. And then Joffrey, I mean, Jace, we know Jace is 16 because that's
Aemon would have to be 19 because I think
Aemon would have to be 19. And I think Luke is a year younger than Jace. She had them back to back.
Because we meet Aegon on his second name day, and she was pregnant, right?
With Aemon or Helena, though? I thought it was Helena that she was pregnant with.
On Aegon's second name day? Yeah, okay. Well,
see her with the baby. Remember she was like holding the baby and like rocking. The baby was in all white. That looked like a girl to me. And she had Aegon was already like 2 or 3 at this point.
So I'm talking about on Aegon's second name day when they go on the hunt. She's pregnant. That's got to be Aemon.
The thing is, in the next episode, when she's like holding the baby, the episode that Rhaenyra loses her virginity, right before we cut to her being in her room, we see Alicent like staring out the window holding a fussy baby. And that baby had on all white and like a hat. And I just assumed that kid was a girl. So I assumed that was Helena.
We're going to have to go back. Yeah. We'll go back. Yeah.
We digress.
We'll see.
Last thing I want to mention is Vaemon going straight to the high towers and basically stating his claim, like being like, hey, this is about blood for me. This is not about anything but that. And just so you know, the next Lord of the Tides will be in your debt if you do me right. I'm gonna do you right. I got your back. Basically, is what he was saying. And I thought that was interesting, obviously, because they obviously have a favorite here because they even heard him do that. Like they didn't go to Rhaenyra and be like, "Do you want to talk about this?" So, Daemon's not here stating his claim.
Yeah, she's not on the board for them. So having Vaemon already knows the play because he tells Rhaenys before they leave Driftmark, he's like, "Well, the king doesn't sit on the throne; the queen does." And he already knows how the queen feels about Rhaenyra. So you go in, you plant your flag, let it be known. So what happens next?
So Rhaenyra confronts Rhaenys on which side she's on. She's like, which way, what are you doing here? Let me know so I can act accordingly. Even after Rhaenyra affirms that she didn't kill Laenor, which is true, technically. And offers Baela and Rhaena marry Jason Luke, ensuring both girls will aid in ruling the realm and Valyrian blood will still be ruling Driftmark. Rhaenys does not make obvious whose side she will take, stating that she has to look out for herself, basically. When you heard this, what did you think Rhaenys was going to do after this conversation? Whose side did you think she was going to be on?
It was a tough call, but I thought that she would take Rhaenyra's side.
Really?
I don't think
the opposite.
I didn't think because there's no love between her and Vaemon, and I think Rhaenys made a good case for herself, and especially offering those marriages because Rhaenys, so many names. Rhaenys responds with, is this like desperation? And Rhaenyra's like, does it matter? And Rhaenys kind of looks at her like, I guess not. Because even whether it's desperation or, strength or strategy or whatever you want to call it, at the end of the day, it's a good look for the Velaryon family. It's a good look for Baela and Rhaena. And so where Alicent failed to see the bigger picture and moving forward when Rhaenyra was like, hey, let's marry Jace and Helena. That way we can have both sides of our families ruling and blah, blah, blah. Rhaenys seemed more open to it. And I think she's more of a long-term thinker. And she was like, she might be desperate, but whether she's desperate or not, this is a good deal. So
yeah. I think the reason why I went the other way is because after she asks her, is this desperation or is this whatever? And Rhaenyra's like, doesn't matter. Rhaenys goes, you're right, it doesn't matter. And the way she said that made me feel like she was saying, you're right, it doesn't matter because my son's still dead, my daughter's still dead, my husband's still almost dead. Why should I care about what's about to happen? So that's how that's how I took it. But to your point, you know, Rhaenyra is playing right into what Rhaenys wanted all along, which was for one of the girls to be head of Driftmark, which is going to happen, right? If she takes Rhaenyra up on that offer. So, you know, we'll get to where Rhaenys eventually like falls on the spectrum here. But I thought that was really interesting. One other thing before we move off of Rhaenys, where the hell is Sea Smoke?
Girl, who knows?
6 years, and y'all didn't want to give us nothing about Sea Smoke?
Who knows? Running around, having a good time. I have no idea.
Does Rhaena still not have a dragon?
Not that we know of through the show.
Right, exactly. Because we see those 3 eggs. I totally missed that at the beginning. That we see on Dragonstone that Viserys, Daemon, like cracks open like a pouch of eggs and they have 3 more dragon eggs or whatever, which is going to be huge because I think the majority of eggs that are left are in King's Landing. So now Rhaenyra and Daemon have their own eggs. They have 3 of their own kids, you know, 2.5. So ostensibly those 3 eggs would go to them, which is great. Yeah. But we still don't know on their side. Say it again?
More dragons on their side.
More dragons on their side, but we still don't know where Rhaena lands with this. I mean, I think Sea Smoke or Rhaenys' dragon might eventually wind up with Rhaena, but that heavily depends on which side Rhaenys winds up on once all this goes down.
This is true.
So, speaking of going down, that night, Rhaenyra asks a delusional and drugged up Viserys whether he really believes the Song of Ice and Fire prophecy to be true and begs for him to defend her and Luke during the petition. The next morning, Viserys orders Otto to plan a family dinner. At the petition, Vaemond makes his claim, sticking to his concern about the survival of his house. As Rhaenyra is about to restate her claim, Viserys actually shows up to take the throne and asks Rhaenys of Corlys's wishes. She says Corlys wants Luke to have the seat and tells the court of Rhaenyra's offer to marry the girls to her boys. Viserys reaffirms Luke as the heir of Driftmark. Vaemond is not having it and goes as far as to call the boys bastards and Rhaenyra a whore in front of the assembled. Daemon promptly cuts off his head. And says,
those kids are bastards! Yeah, the way he said it. I was like, oh my God. And just Daemon in the background be like, say it. I dare you say it. I've been wanting some action. Say it. Oh, and the fact that he says it and then adds on the horror part after that. He didn't
have to do the horror part. He didn't have to do the bastard part neither. It's like, you know you're about to die if this happens. I thought you were so concerned about your bloodline. Now what?
That's the thing I question too, is like, you're worried about your bloodline because we don't know if he has children. We haven't met his children. So it's like, if you do, then what are, you doing this is not ensuring their future. It's not helping. So why take this route? You know what I mean? So, and it's funny because like the actor who plays him is like, well, he's going to die anyway. So he's going to die on his own terms. And I guess the thought ran across my mind, like, who says he has to die though? Like, if you don't get Driftmark, cool. All right. Tuck your tail between your legs and sail back home. Like, I don't understand what the big deal is, but I mean, not what the big deal is, but like, I don't understand why that wasn't an option in his mind.
It totally was an option until he said bastard.
Yes.
After that, all bets were off.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, and was like, I'll have your tongue for that. Like, he actually had enough strength to get up.
Right. So we also even before that, right, we got to mention that as they are all petitioning and they're gathered in the Great Hall, first of all, Otto is sitting on the throne. Right? Let's point that out. Otto is sitting on the throne, flexing his power, talking about you speak, you wait, you talk, all this good stuff. And while Rhaenyra's making her case, the doors swing open and in comes Viserys, right? And does this long walk to the throne.
Otto moved mad quick.
Yeah, Otto got up real quick. Viserys said, I will take my throne. And as he's walking, King's guards try to help him. He's like, nah, I'm good. I got this. Stumbling, taking his time, drops his crown, and Uncle Day Day comes through and picks up the crown. And is like, come on, let's go. And I was like, damn, Damon, damn. Hit me in the feels.
And Viserys lets him help him. And I think that's the moment that both brothers always wanted, but could never articulate to each other. Like, Viserys always just wanted Daemon to support him and just be by his side and be the honorable brother that he knew he could be. And Daemon just wanted Viserys to ask for help.
Daemon wanted to be needed.
Daemon wanted to be needed. Yeah.
And in that moment, he felt needed. And those two were able to connect. And I love that. And it was great. I love that moment. For sure.
It was really good, especially because Rhaenyra was about to lose. She was about to lose hard.
I mean, what? The odds were not in her favor, okay. but I don't think I don't think it was signed, sealed, delivered that she was going to lose. I'll just say the odds were not in her favor. You thought it was done for.
As soon as Allison was just like, "You'll have your turn," I was like, "Well, that's it.
We're done."
So when Viserys actually gets onto the throne, finally, he's just, first of all, he's like, I don't understand why we're still having this conversation.
Corlys is not dead.
Corlys is not dead. 1, 2, why do we keep we already know how this is supposed to work. How dare y'all bring this up again? Why are we still talking about this? He got very, like, I felt like the black mother coming out of him. Like, you heard what I said. Why? Don't make me say it again.
Yep. Why are we here? Why are we doing this?
Why y'all got me out my bed?
He was so annoyed, and I was here for it. My man
so
was so annoyed. But Rhaenyra, you could see, was so relieved, so happy that, like, yes, my daddy came through and showed up for me. And I was happy for her to have that moment, honestly.
Mm-hmm. That is a father's love for real.
Yeah.
She's his only child, so we'll talk about that later. Actually, I think it might have passed already, but whatever.
Yeah, I think that
like sleepy, drunken, drugged up state.
Milk of the poppy.
He calls Rhaenyra his only child, which is wild because he has more than one child. So, anyways,
he's got a gangle of them.
He has more than one, definitely. When Viserys gets on the throne, he asks Rhaenys he's like, Rhaenys, you're the closest to Corlys. I trust you. What did Corlys want? How did he want the succession to go? Which I think is super important because it establishes a wife speaking for her husband when he is incapacitated, which I think is going to come into big play next episode.
Yes, right? Definitely. It's setting precedents for Alicent to step forward.
Exactly, and speak on behalf of what Viserys wanted. So Rhaenys, I think Rhaenys folds. I didn't think she was going to go this way. So to me, she folded and was just like, wasn't expecting to have to like do this in front of her cousin. She has a lot of respect for the throne. She has a lot of respect for her family. That's obvious. So she's kind of like, Corlys wanted Luke on the throne. And like, this is going to be great because Rhaenyra said that she's going to marry the boys to the girls. And Viserys like, this is amazing. This is fine.
Yeah, I think.
The Lord of the Tides. Let's settle. Rhaenyra's still going to take my chair when I'm dead. Let's all go to dinner.
Right. I think also like Viserys bringing in Rhaenys the way that he did, further establishes that, because we've seen it throughout the season, there are these moments where you can see he does have a deep respect for Rhaenys and a deep love for her. Like when he went to Driftmark to propose the marriage between Rhaenyra and Laenor, she comes out and he's like, cousin, like, you know what I mean? Like he truly cares about her. And I think in a sense, the way he kind of feels guilty about Emma, he kind of sort of feels responsible and guilty-ish about Rhaenys and how everything went down. So I think this was kind of his way of being like, I respect your thoughts in this. So I think that was super important. And then the second thing about that is Rhaenys felt like she was alone, right? her husband is possibly on death's door. Both her children are gone. She has Bela, but then other than that, like, no one's really in her corner. Mm-hmm. No one's really by her side. So I think Viserys being like, I care about what you have to say, just made her feel more empowered to be like, all right, I'm going to go with the blacks on this one.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I was a little shocked, but happy to see her go that way. And then just finally, as we mentioned before, Daemon hesitated not a near second for cutting his head after he called his wife a whore.
That was great. He said, Viserys was like, I'll have your tongue for that. Daemon, shing! He could keep his tongue. Tongue is like flapping out the head. I was like, oh my, that took me by shock. Because there was just no hesitation, no words were exchanged, just pure action.
So 2 things. One, the precision that Daemon needed to have in order to hack off his head from behind while keeping his tongue intact. Like, Daemon is older, but he ain't nothing to mess with. Like, he knows how to use a sword. 2, I was thinking about this earlier today, how, like, our first introduction to Daemon was when he was, like, head of the Gold Cloaks and he went around cutting off people's body parts. Yep. Like, this dude is about that life. He doesn't care. He will chop somebody up and he will kill somebody. Right? Like, but I honestly think, like, in his mind, he needs a reason. I don't think he'll just do it just to do it. Like, he killed his wife so that he could try to be with Rhaenyra. He killed that guard so that they can set up Laenor's fake death. He killed Vaemon because that dude was disrespectful and deserved to die. But Daemon is always ready to square up. He's going to do it. He's going to square up.
I just also, like, in that whole scene, I just love watching everyone's reactions. Like, for all of y'all, if y'all have not watched the episode more than once, like, go back and make sure y'all watch purely for the reactions of everyone. Aegon, Aemon, Helena, everybody, because everyone's face is telling such a story. Like, just go back and check it out. It's amazing.
You mean their reactions to Daemon cutting off Vaemon's head?
The whole scene.
The whole scene.
To Viserys walking in, to Vaemon making his initial claim, Rhaenyra speaking, like, the whole, like, throne room scene. Y'all got to go back, watch those reactions.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to go back and rewatch.
Oh, let's eat some din-din.
So after all this, Viserys forces everyone to eat dinner together. And he essentially at dinner begs the family to stop fighting. And for a moment, the Greens and the Blacks, they make amends. And we'll talk about that in a second, exactly what was said. But as soon as Viserys leaves the room, Aemon makes a dig at Jay Sloop and Joffrey, which obviously causes a fight, or almost causes a fight. All the children get sent to bed, but Queen Alicent and Princess Rhaenyra seem to still want to uphold the truce they just came to. Later that night, as Alicent is tending to Viserys, he confuses Alicent for Rhaenyra as he continues the conversation from the night before about the prophecy. Alicent has no context about what he's talking about and catches Aegon and Prince That Was Promised and thinks that Viserys' dying wish is to have their son Aegon on the throne. We then see King Viserys I take his last breath, finally.
Finally.
Glasses up to King Viserys I.
Bells! More wine for Viserys. We should do that now. Every time a major character dies on shows, we should just take a sip.
Take a sip, yeah. We'll take a sip for our homies, our dead homies. We'll definitely try doing that moving forward. All right, so let's just real quick. Laenor, Laena, Harwin Strong, Lionel Strong, Joffrey, I guess. We can do Joffrey. Who else was major that died so far? Emma, first episode.
Emma.
Damon's wife.
Rhea Royce.
Let's go with them for now.
Yeah.
All right.
That's fine. Glasses up. More wine.
More wine to those gone and quickly forgotten, apparently.
Yes. That's what happens when you have 4 time jumps in one season.
That's a great point. All right, let's dig into this last scene, these last two scenes, because it's super important. Now, the one thing that stood out to me was as soon as Viserys was done showing everybody his Harvey Dent Two-Face scarred up like face or whatever.
Ooh, the man missing a whole eye inside of his face.
He's missing an eye. He's missing a cheek. I mean, it's a whole thing. He's like, can y'all stop fighting because like I'm dying, like please. And Rhaenyra is the first one to be like, look, you know what, Alicent, you have been the most loyal. You've taken such good care of my father. Like, just really leaning into like giving her the accolades for being the loyal, self-righteous person that Alicent thinks that she is what I picked up from that. Like, Rhaenyra really knew how to like compliment her, and essentially says, "Thank you for loving my father, and I'm sorry for like the way things has been." And then Alicent, in return, kind of says like, you're a mother and you're doing what a good mother would do. And so like, I respect that is kind of what she was saying. Did you think that they made up too quick? Did it feel authentic?
It felt authentic to me, honestly. Because I forgot what the moment was, but there is a moment that Rhaenyra looks over and sees that Alicent is taking care of Viserys. And I guess that plays into the fact that apparently Rhaenyra hasn't been there in the last 6 years. And it's been Alicent by his side day in and day out. And I think it's a genuine, I see what you have done and I respect it. Like, you know, we may not be the best of friends right now, but that does not take away from the good things that you have done for my father. So I thought it was genuine. You didn't think so?
I thought in the moment I thought it was genuine in the moment. I didn't think it was like, so after this, like they decide, like Rhaenyra's like, oh, I'm going to go take the kids home and come back and like hang out. And I'm just like, that felt a little bit too quick to me.
Again, having the 6 years, I understand what you mean by it feels a little bit of a quick turn, but I think Rhaenyra's been wanting this for a while, right? Even when she offers Jace to Helena, like she's been trying to make amends for a minute. And it's always Alicent who's just like, nah, F you. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, or like Alicent will be on the way and then something happens and Alicent's like, nah, I'm good. So I think Rhaenyra's been wanting this. And I think this was the final moment that Alicent's like, man, you know what? My husband's on his way out. My son's an asshole. Both of them. Honestly, my little girl has no idea what the hell is going on. Like, I could use a friend right now. And I think that's what it is. Yeah, I think she's just leaning into, I could potentially get my friend back. And that would be awesome. I think that's what it is. But with the way the show's condensed, I think it's a fair assessment that it could feel too quick.
Okay, cool. I think I buy that. I do. I buy there's enough history there for that to be authentic, then fine. We see Helena say more words this episode. Helena, she pretty much we're always listening to see if she's going to make a prophecy, and I think she did, but I think it was pretty obvious. She says, beware the beast under the boards, like as people are beginning to like apologize and toast to each other, essentially pointing out that like, y'all still hate each other and the beast is about to come out. So
yes. So
beware of all that.
She does this specifically during Jace's speech, right? Where he's like, we haven't seen each other in years, but I have these fond memories of us. And, you know, as men, I hope that we could be friends and allies and all of that. And, you know, to you and your good health, uncles, right? All this thing. And then she's just like softly like, beware the beast beneath the boards. Right? And so obviously I think that's a hint to us that like, not all is well, you know, things are going to be unleashed. This piece is not going to last long at all. And we clearly see that happen by the time dinner ends.
It lasted 5 minutes total.
Yes, all of 5 minutes, basically. But I love hearing her and her prophecies. Every time she speaks, I'm like, wait a minute, This gonna mean something.
So to your point, Helena says something else in the episode, and you and I, when we were watching in person, that was so nice. We should do that more often.
Yeah.
You were just like, well, did she make a prophecy? And so I don't think she did, but let's just like clarify that. Yeah. So Helena, so first of all, Aegon is like teasing the hell out of Jace, about Jace being betrothed to Baela. He's just like, making comments about how Jace is not going to be satisfying in bed, yada, 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 yada. Helena chimes in and she's basically just like, it's not so bad. Like, he ignores you mostly unless he's drunk. Right? Yeah. And so when you heard that, you were like, oh, snap. Is she making a prophecy about something? Explain what you thought at that point in time.
So I took it as she is proclaiming what is happening in her marriage currently. But something in me was kind of like, is she prophesizing what's going to happen in one of the girls' marriages as well? And part of me was like, dang, is Helena going to die and somebody's going to marry Aegon? And then he's going to do the same thing? Or like, I don't know. My mind was just like racing. We were having plenty of wine. And so I was just like, it just felt like it was more than just, this is my experience. And maybe I'm reading too deep into it because I just feel like word is bond with everything that she says. But for me, that's what I was thinking. I was just like, I feel like there's more here than just, oh, this is the experience that I'm having.
So I thought the same. I thought she was talking about herself, and I thought that she was talking directly about Jace and Baela. Mm-hmm. But that felt a little like, it feels a little counterintuitive because Jace doesn't seem like the type to be like that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, after this, he even like asks Helena to dance, and they're like dancing around in the corner, which is like super cute to see.
Despite Aegon.
Yes, but still super cute that he's showing Helena.
Yeah, this could have been our life. Right. Allison's looking like, dang, I messed up.
Yep, she definitely messed up for her kid. But if it comes to pass that Jace does turn into the type of husband that ignores his wife, if that wife is indeed going to be Baela, I'm not sure, and gets drunk or whatever, it tells us, like, it's telling us that something is going to happen to this boy / young man that turns him into that. Mm-hmm. And I think that is super interesting to keep an eye on.
For sure. I'm curious to see if it pans out or if we were just reading too deep into it. But we'll see. But that's half the fun, is reading too deeply into these things and overanalyzing every little thing that's said. I love it.
Yeah, until you're ready for there to be a dragon on a Winterfell and then it never comes to pass. Mm-hmm. Listen, guys, we were deep into Game of Thrones when Game of Thrones was finishing up. We had all of the...
There's a dragon under Winterfell. There's a...
You cannot tell us there's not a dragon under Winterfell. Anyway,
George, release the books. Release the books, George.
Release the books. Come on, George. Let's do this.
Yes.
So the one other thing I wanted to call out too is that, like, at dinner, almost everyone's on their best behavior except for Aegon and Aemond.
Right. Otto's in the background, like, everybody's laughing and having a good time, and Aemond is just like, I know this is about to go sour. I'm ready. I'm ready. And Aegon's just being an ass like he always is. And
yeah, but he's like not even trying to not do it. He's just like flaunting his assholishness, if that's a word.
It is now.
Just trying to get a rise out of Jason. Anyways, and I mean, Aemond kept the lid on until Luke smiled at him with the pig.
The pig, boy. Luke just... First of all, Luke, you done took this man eye. You seen the way he could fight. And you got the nerve. You know you can't fight. You know you're not about the action. You know you can't fight to save your life. And you going to sit here and smile and smirk and laugh when this pig gets dropped in front of him? I was like, you deserve it. At that point, if Luke had lost his eye, I'd been like, you had it coming.
I would have been like, you know what? That could have been avoided. And you didn't avoid it. Like, if he really wanted to be like, all right, let me try to make amends, he would have stood up and been like, you know what? Let me move this. By the way, I never apologized for taking part in that when we were younger. Like, he could have did that. Aemon probably would have been like, F off. But still, he could have tried.
He could have just said nothing.
He could have said
He could have
nothing.
minded his business.
He could have. But once you see it, you kind of got to react, honestly.
Do you?
So if Luke and looked away, I don't think that Aemon would have been happier about that. I think he would have still peeped that Luke saw it. And it still would have brought back all of the like memories and stuff like that.
Luke should have kept his mouth shut. That's what I think. There's nothing he could have said that would have made anything better. The best thing he could have done was just kept his mouth shut and kept a straight ass face. That's all he needed to do.
Agree.
He just couldn't do it. He's just couldn't do it.
So yeah. So the other thing I forgot to mention too is that we also get a piece of Jace learning the High Valyrian, and he just can't get it together.
He's struggling.
He's struggling, which we saw that Aemon and Aegon, they don't have issues with that. But in any event, after Viserys goes to bed, Aemon does the like, I want to give a toast to my nephews. They're wise, they're something, and they're strong.
To the strong boys. Woo! And Damon is like in the background loving it. He's like, nom, 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 yes, drama. Damon lives for the drama. And please guys, I'm telling y'all, if y'all not paying attention to Damon's reactions in all his scenes, please do. Go back and rewatch and keep your eyes on Damon. Damon is loving this.
That's so good. Just quick aside, while we were waiting for House of the Dragon to start, Nessa and I decided to watch Morbius finally. Both of us did not know that Matt Smith is in that movie. So we were just like, oh snap, Damon's here.
And he was so good in it too.
He was good. But we'll talk about the movie another time. Let's not spoil this. Yeah. So Viserys finally dies.
He does. Takes his last breath.
He takes his, and what's the last thing he says before he dies? Do you remember?
I don't. What was it?
Says,
my love.
My love.
Elizabeth, I'm coming. I'm coming, Elizabeth. Emma,
yeah. It was just so sweet. It was so sweet and so sad. And then he takes his last breath and it cuts to black and you're kind of like, oh, that was sad, but oh my God, finally.
Mind you, the whole episode, we're sitting next to each other like, oh, he's going to die right now. Oh, wait, Rhaenyra's going to kill him. Hold up, Alicent's going to kill him. He's dead. And I was just like...
I totally forgot. We thought that Rhaenyra was going to just put the pillow over his head.
I thought both Rhaenyra and Alicent were going to do it. I thought Alicent was going to... I was so mad that he just kept on living. I was like, oh, he's going to make it to the throne and sit on it and die. Not
for nothing, no. I really thought Rhaenyra was going to kill him and just be like, you know what? I'm here. Let me just take the throne while I'm here. That was an option.
It was an option. I'm glad she didn't.
Who's going to check her? Who's going to check her?
I'm glad she didn't do it. I think they're really trying to set it up where you have all reason to root for both sides. And they're trying to make it hard. Because, like, although Alicent is a tough hang, boy, if you really think about it, like, if you were living in that time, I understand all the jealousy. I have to marry this old man who is my best friend's father, who I don't really want to marry, pop out all these children. I don't have any friends. My father gets sent away. So it's just me by myself. And then at the end of his years, it's me taking care of him day in and day out. And then I have to make all these decisions. Meanwhile, my kids are running rampant, doing Lord knows what in and out of this castle. And then you have to sit and watch your best friend. Yes, she had this, first of all, go on a whole bachelorette tour, right? She had the option of choosing who she was going to marry. Then when the option was taken, it was still like, well, he's handsome and young, so it's not that bad. And she still got to live out her life by messing with Strong and having all these strong boys, right? And nobody's punished her for it. Then she gets to marry the guy who you thought she was sleeping with to begin with, right?
Have 3 more babies.
have 3 more babies.
Steal your baby's name.
And is just like chilling, more or less, right? Mm-hmm. And so like, when you step back, you can really understand her disdain for Rhaenyra. And I get it. I would feel the same. I'd be a hater too. I'm not even gonna lie. I'd be a hater too. Like, I had to sit here and do my duty and live out this trashy life where you got to do whatever you want and still got to have your joy and your happiness throughout. Your strong boys are nice kids. At the end of the day, they took my son's eye, but at the end of the day, they're nice children, right? And you still got the option to marry the guy who you originally wanted to be with. So it's like, I get it. All I'm saying is I get it, Allison.
That's actually a good point. Like, is Rhaenyra a better mother than Alicent? And is Alicent picking up on that because her kids just came out a little bit better? Like,
I think that's tough because Alicent was younger when she had her kids.
That's a good point.
And she didn't have a partner like Laenor or
Strong.
They had 2 daddies.
They did. They had 2 daddies.
And Aegon and Aemon and Helena had to deal with Viserys. So I think it's a hard comparison to make, but I think those feelings are there. Like, dang, like, is Rhaenyra really a better mom than me? Like,
or like my kids suck and hers doesn't.
Right. Oh, cool.
So a lot of fuel backing up Alicent being able to wholeheartedly believe without question that Viserys was talking about her children with regards to who should be on the throne. Her Aegon with who should be on the throne. Which we know as the audience is a gross misinterpretation of what he meant.
Yes.
And is about to cause a lot of problems. It was so frustrating watching that scene. It was so frustrating.
Right. So if we remember, guys, so the Song of Ice and Fire is supposed to prophesize that a Targaryen is supposed to sit on the throne to defend the realm against nefarious forces from the north, right? And that's what it's supposed to be. It's the prince that was promised, which in Game of Thrones, we end up finding out that it doesn't necessarily need to translate to prince. It could be prince or princess that was promised. So, because in Targaryen, you know, the word, I guess, is unisex, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Valonqar,
it
like
could go.
Valonqar is also unisex.
Yeah, so it could go either way. And so when Alicent is hearing this, she's just picking up certain words, right? Because Viserys is fading. And so the way he's even delivering the message isn't understandable. He thinks he's talking to Rhaenyra. You know, what you asked me earlier. Yes, I believe it. Aegon, Song, Ice and Fire, Prince that was promised, you know, that whole thing. And Alicent's like, I know I just made up with my friend, but he wants my son to be on the throne. Now we've got 2 Aegons. Should be interesting to see if Rhaenyra's like, even if that is what he said, because we know she's not going to come out and just be like, well, no, here's the real prophecy, right? Because if that was the case, we would have heard about it in greater detail when we got to Game of Thrones.
I mean, but also, even if she were to just spit out the prophecy now, it doesn't actually help her because all of Alicent's kids are Targaryens too. Like, the only thing that prophecy says is that a Targaryen has to be on the throne when this threat happens in order to defeat it. And so it doesn't actually help Rhaenyra's case at all to give you all the details.
Right. This is true. It's not helpful.
No. So I don't think she's going to say it. I do think she's going to share it with Daemon at the minimum.
Ooh.
I do think that she'll share it with Daemon or her kids, or I think she'll share it with someone in order to make sure someone else like knows it. I don't know exactly. At least Daemon at the minimum, if not Jace.
Someone's got to find out.
Yeah. Cool. So that was the episode. Viserys is finally dead. Rest in peace. He got to see his long lost love, Emma, who he's been pining for a while. So happy for him. Happy that he's finally at rest. Who do you think won the episode?
Luke. For me, it was Luke. The odds were stacked against him. I think Driftmark was slipping away from him just a little bit. And so the fact that they were able to make this case, the fact that Viserys was able to step up for him, Rhaenys backed him up, and that he's able to keep Driftmark as his inheritance, I saw him as coming up on the up and up. So I'm going to go with Luke.
Viserys won this episode.
Yeah, go ahead. State your claim. Petition your claim.
He got what he wanted in the end, almost. Like, while he was alive, right? Like, he was able to prove that he can still rule from the throne. He needed a little bit of help, but he got there. Luke, kept his claim thanks to him. I think that's a win for him because they definitely tried to take away and like go against his word. And he was able to be like, no, I said what I said. He got to have one final family dinner. And at that dinner, the last thing he saw was everybody getting along and being happy. So there's that. And then he finally gets to rest. I mean, I don't think we said this, but I heard somewhere that Viserys is 52 when he dies.
Yeah.
52.
Yeah. And I think Daemon's supposed to be 4 years younger.
Yeah, Daemon is maybe like 4 years younger. So for Daemon to see that and be like, holy crap. Like, you look at Viserys, you think he's like 102. No, he's 52. And he's just finally at rest. So to me, he wins the episode. Luke makes a lot of sense, probably makes more sense to a lot of people, but I'm giving it to Viserys because I'm
gonna counter Viserys with he got some of the good stuff and at the end still messed it up by giving the prophecy. He still Viserys it up like by making these terrible decisions and choices.
So in his defense, you can't tell me different. He thought that Alicent was Rhaenyra because Alicent doesn't visit him at night anymore. And because Rhaenyra did it the night before, he assumed that it was Rhaenyra again.
He assumed, right, because when Rhaenyra comes to visit him, he thinks it's Alicent, though.
When?
When she first shows up.
Oh, all right, I take that back then. Whatever, he won.
So, you know what? We gotta put this in our stories and let the audience decide. Who do y'all think won between these two? Y'all might have different opinions completely, but between Luke and Viserys, who do you think won the episode? I would love to see. We gotta put that as a poll. I'd love to see what people thought.
Do it. Let's do it. I Viserys, but fine.
Okay. Luke, for sure. Yes, looking forward.
Looking forward.
We have to look forward to in next week's episode, T.
So, in the next episode in the trailer, we see Otto, Alicent, and Kristen for some reason. Like, why are we giving him like a reason to be able to do stuff? Announce the death of King Viserys. Alicent tells someone Viserys wished Aegon to be king, her son Aegon to be king. And we see a lot of movement, which we can only assume has to do with Otto and Alicent staging the coup of the throne. Like we see Rhaenyra locked up in a room, and we see some other stuff. And then we also get a hint that Rhaenyra and Daemon's son, Aegon, may be a huge plot point for next episode.
Yeah.
So what do we think about that?
So initial thought that I also wanted to mention, but forgot. Kristen is not by Alicent's side anymore.
Oh yeah, no, they replaced him.
They replaced him, but he's still training Aemon and the boys and all that good stuff. But it's interesting that he's not there again in the 6-year time jump. What happened? How did we get here? What is the issue? What is the problem? I don't know. But I am looking forward because, and we've been talking about this all season. And this is the main reason why I've been waiting for Viserys' death, because when he dies, all hell is about to break loose. And this is what I've been waiting for. So I'm excited to see all of the fallout that happens from his death, what decisions are made. Like you said, it looks like this coup is happening. Everybody's turning against each other. So I'm curious to see where people finally end up landing in terms of being on the blacks versus the greens. That's what
I think we also catch a glimpse of Rhaenys saying to Alicent, have you never thought about being on the throne? So that does not bode well for which, for Rhaenyra, if Rhaenys might be taking Alicent's side. Who knows?
Should be interesting.
We'll see. I'm super excited for it for all the reasons you just said. I mean, the fact that we see Rhaenyra locked up in her room, we know a room. If it's her room, we know she knows how to get out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that should be interesting. Yeah, the secret passages. I'm wondering if that's actually how she gets out and is able to escape with her life and everything.
Yes.
So we'll see. Any other final thoughts?
That is all that I have.
Same. So stay tuned, everyone.
Yes, guys, thank you for joining us. That is our episode, House of the Dragon, Season 1, Episode 8, Lord of the Tides. We finally know who it is now, right? It's been established, at least for now, right? At least for now. It was fun to talk to you guys about this in more than just blinks and wheezes. So thank you for joining us. Once again, we will continue our coverage of House of the Dragon, as well as Rings of Power and other stuff to come. Make sure you follow us on our socials at casualfangirls_ on Instagram and TikTok. We are on the TikToks now. Y'all. Our old behinds are on the TikToks now. So make sure you guys follow us there, comment, subscribe. We are on YouTube at Casual Fangirls. It's been wonderful. As always, I am Nessa.
And I'm T.
And together we are the Casual Fangirls. We will see you guys